Welcome to Untitled University. My name is Kevin Njino, the founder of Untitled University. The platform mostly talks about soft skills, and these are those characteristics that employers are looking for. Some call them employability skills. But today I'm not alone. Today I'm with Judy and Njino. Judy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Really a pleasure.
And Judy, just to get it right, you work for...
I'm the executive director of the Global Compact Network Kenya, which is part of the world's largest corporate sustainability initiative, where we work to mobilize business as a force for good and to work, to deliver on sustainable development as guided by a set of 10 principles on issue areas on human rights, the environment, labor, and anti-corruption, and as well as, taking action in support of the sustainable development goals. So that's me in a nutshell. I have been doing this for the last, 8 years, going to 9 now.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's been an exciting journey for me.
Well, so you're the right person in this kind of show, Judy, because so as an employer, you employ people, you see people you want to work with. Is it fair to say that at the moment, universities are churning out unemployable persons?
Well, it's been a challenge, quite honestly, Kevin. So what we are seeing is, individuals coming out into the world of work with very good academic credentials. And they enter a very competitive, job market where everybody is competing for these job opportunities. So they have good, degrees, good grades. But, when you start engaging them to sort of like fill them out for a job opportunity, then you start seeing, the skills gaps that are glaring. And so it's an opportunity for all, young people who are leaving schools today to really, take these steps actively to see how they can upskill, especially around soft skills, which I think is really the focus of this discussion. So, you can have all the good credentials around, good grades and all that, but you also need to match it up, with, the employability skills that we're going to talk about today.
So what's the problem then? Where did you go wrong, Judy? Because clearly, we've got very good schools in Kenya, so to speak. So it's the problem the school or community. And let me ask you your experience yourself, for instance. Mm-hmm. You're very likable, and clearly you are, what you do is quite at the very highest level. So how did it happen for you then? I suppose it's good to have practical examples.
Absolutely. And I think for those of us who've gone to school in Kenya and maybe who are under the last curricula, where, the education system was really designed around, if I can call it, memorization or cramming of content. And it didn't give us much opportunity to interrogate, to question. And I think this has a bearing also in terms of the kind of people it churned out into the job market. And for me, I think, having been sort of like, a product of that system, I had to quickly try and learn, okay, so what do I need to do to match up to the skills that are required in the job market? And for me, a first step was, can I get myself out there through, practicums or internships? How can I get myself to start filling out what exactly is required in the job market? And I remember even my first job really was working in Mukuru slums for our water and sanitation projects. And I worked with these two old men who I really have to give, thanks to in terms of really guiding me and coaching me through the process of what it means to work in a community. So my background, by the way, is in counseling psychology and community development. So I double majored at Daystar University, and then I pursued a master's in project planning and management at the University of Nairobi. So coming from this developmental background, I was able to pivot into the world of corporate sustainability, which was something totally different from what my educational background, entailed. And so I think that exposure and being proactive to learn and to open yourself up to, different opportunities, and not really sort of like straitjacket yourself into one little space, can open up a world of opportunities around different career streams. And for me, that really worked. And I'm happy that I took that journey.
Did you say you went to Daystar University?
I did.
I see, interesting. Well, I went there too.
Oh, good.
So, if you remember me asking, clearly, wow, this is interesting. So, when did you graduate, Judy?
So, I graduated in 2007. I was there between 2002 to 2007, having double majored in Athi River, hot, sunny, and dry Athi River.
I see. Well, that's what I went to. I suppose when you're just finishing, I was joining. But interesting.
Right.
So. It's quite interesting. So in Kenya right now, Judy, people will say that even getting practicum, it's quite tough. Getting internship, people talking about who knows who. What do you tell those kind of people? And is that actually real?
Yeah, so that has been a perception, especially in the job market here in Kenya. And I think we'll talk later a little bit about, networking. Because in all honesty, it helps when you put yourself out there, because that's how you get to learn of these opportunities. So it's not so much about someone sort of like pulling the strings for you, but it's you putting yourself out there to see what opportunities are available. And so, for me, that's one of the things that I want, the people listening to the show today to take away from, that put yourself out there and try and diversify the different spaces that you can get as much as possible, because then you, like I said, you open yourself up to a world of opportunities around the different things that you might want to do.
When you say people should put themselves out there, what does that mean?
So that means taking advantage of the different spaces that are available. It's unfortunate that we are under lockdown with the COVID restrictions. So we had traditional, platforms where people could go out. So there could be events, there could be, just different sort of like get-togethers where you can, get to engage and interact with different people. But now with the COVID and having to do everything through digital means, I'm seeing like another world of opportunities around different areas you can, plug in. Everybody's doing Zoom,
Yes.
webinars around different contents. A lot of them are open, spaces you can log in and get to learn. Interact freely with different people and just ensure that you don't just attend, even if it's a virtual session and you're mute, you're quiet throughout. Engage, So those are some of the ways that you can even sort of like leverage and see, in the current situation on how to address that.
Well, having talked about COVID-19, and look, you and I, we've never met, but you're talking here. So clearly, also, there's opportunity with the internet now where people should take advantage of that, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So when you were hiring people yourself, Jude, you're an executive director, so clearly, some of the people that work around you, you brought them in. So what are you looking at when doing an interview?
Yeah, so of course, in addition to your academic credentials, we also look at, other skills, the soft skills that we're talking about that you need to demonstrate even at interview level. So skills such as being a good communicator, demonstrating initiative, demonstrating that you can be a leader, much as you're coming in, at a very, at a starter level. You can also demonstrate that you're reliable, dependable. All these are skills that you can, showcase through practical, examples from maybe your past, or even just your own home environment, if I can say that, especially if you're getting into the world of work for the first time.
People normally say that because they've never got opportunity, especially, I'm talking about the fresh graduates. I'll be at home for 2-3 years before work, they don't get it. So they normally say that it's very difficult to showcase your leadership skills in an interview. And I know you just mentioned a few things there, but just being practical, how will someone coming fresh from university showcase their leadership skills in an interview that takes 20 minutes?
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying you need to borrow from your past experience and in the different facets of life. So it's not restricted within, a work setup. And I can give you an example, a very personal example. For me, when I first came out of university, my undergraduate, I didn't want to stay home, because I didn't know how long I would stay home. So I volunteered to take care of children at Hope House Children's Home. I also took leadership in ensuring that I could provide whatever support that was needed within that home, and to sort of like help the caregivers there, who you could tell they were quite stretched. So that in itself shows some level of initiative, some level of taking charge of your own life. Many of us also go to church. You can volunteer in that space. I know they need a lot of help around different dimensions. Personally, I recall, well, even way after I got my job and I've settled in my career, I volunteered in church, to tweet. They were looking for social media people, and for me, I was like, you know what, I enjoy tweeting on my own during the service. So why can't I volunteer these skills? So this is what I'm saying, that you don't need to restrict yourself within a work setting, especially when you're getting in the first time. You need to be out there in society, in the community, and you need to demonstrate that you're actually doing something. So don't sit back at home waiting for a job to land on your laps. I don't think it will work very well for you. You might be lucky, but for the most part, we have to take charge of our lives and we have to put ourselves out there.
So I like the example you give about the church. For those that just joined us now, this is University School of Soft Skills, and today I'm talking to Judy and Njino. We're talking about some of those soft skills that people are looking for. Judy, just back to you. And you talked about church, teaching about church, trying to put yourself out there. But there's a particular perception that people have when it comes to employment. There are some people look at, for example, church, that it's not a place where you can gain experience, that can give opportunity. So just to ask you again, so for those that do not have that practical experience they're looking at, and they go to church setup, so apart from tweeting, can somebody say that they have to be preaching? Like, is that something that people can talk about as well? I mean, being creative, I suppose.
Absolutely. And I mean, the beauty of such a setup, like a church, for instance, is that there are so many different ways you can contribute your time, also depending on your own talents. So I know they usually call for people who maybe play instruments. If you do, you can volunteer in that way. There are also opportunities around, what they call like sort of like welfare service. So how do you sort of like do outreach? Those are things that build certain skills and competencies within you. And it's within a church setup, and those same competencies can be transferred into the world of work. So, and that's why I keep insisting that it doesn't have to be confined to a certain environment, that you're building yourself up. It's just, a different context altogether.
I know you mentioned some of the soft skills. You talked about leadership, you talked about communication skills. I'm particularly interested in critical thinking. I think that's one of those soft skills that employers are looking for. So how could somebody, again, I'm talking to you, Judy, because I just, based on experience, and also I myself, having done lots of interviews, and sometimes you're being asked things that you're like, oh, never heard about it. And let's talk about critical thinking. How can someone, first of all, develop the aspect of critical thinking?
So critical thinking is such an important and vital skill in the world of work and in developing your own career. And like I said, unfortunately for us, the academic system taught us to, again, memorize,
Yes.
cram, not question, and just take whatever we were told as gospel truth.
Yes.
And that's where critical thinking actually comes in, is that it challenges you to interrogate what you think you already know and what you actually don't know. So it calls for you to, put yourself out there to seek out this knowledge and to challenge the knowledge, even through, alternative views. And I think that is something that is really underrated in the world of work right now. And so for, an employer and the world of work, we are working in a very complex system where you need to innovate quickly if you're going to survive or even if you're going to thrive. So you want people to come into the workplace who can, give you good ideas around different things. They can disrupt different ways of how, traditionally you've been doing things. And critical thinking has a very important role in that. And so we encourage young people out there to actively try and hone this skill. And you can do this through different ways. One, I think, just being curious. Everybody has the ability to be curious. So it means, trying to, again, question and interrogate, and not really just taking everything that you see, hear, read at face value. So try and really sort of like drill down to the issue or to the matter at hand. Read widely, expose yourself to different schools of thought. And I always say that even geographically, don't limit yourself to, books that were written by authors within Kenya. That will limit you because that person also, wrote within a certain context which you're familiar with, but expand your horizon and your thinking around that. And I think you can also just develop, problem solving skills. And these are things that we can easily do in life, both within the workplace and also, in our respective personal lives. So put yourself out there and always try and think, how can I do something better than it already is being done? And I think those are some of the ways you can help nurture this particular skill within yourself.
Wow, you make it sound very easy. No, seriously, I mean, I'm like, I wish someone told me this 10 years ago. So why not? Look, I don't remember being in any class, and you can guess how old I am, but I don't remember being in a class where I had the word soft skill, to be honest with you. And I'm talking about, so I was born and brought up in Kenya. My first degree was where you went to school with. If I can compare my life in Kenya now, where I am, it's totally different, especially the way that people are being molded. So is the problem with the university then? Is the system that's the problem? That it's making, as you talked about, cramming. People are drilled to pass exams. So is the problem the school or society?
Yeah, so I know that has been a discussion that has been ongoing even in the academic sector, and I'm happy that they even had to review the curriculum to address this particular challenge. So we are more focused on competency-based, education or curricula. But I think even as a society and culturally, sometimes I think it has a role to play in sort of like, keeping us inhibited. And I'll give you a practical example. We are both Africans and we've grown in an African home setup where you were probably told as a child that, when you're in a room with adults, you're not allowed to talk. You're not allowed to ask questions. You're not allowed to, do all these things that naturally maybe you might feel the need to. And I feel like that truly does have a play in how, to some extent, we seem to be reserved as Africans, as people. And so these are things that we have to be aware of. And I think that awareness, that self-awareness is the first step to try and counter some of these things that, we would we would be predisposed to. So I think really it's more about also challenging our systems around the way we think in society, the way we, culturalize even, basically even how we raise our children, and what that means in a modern world where everybody again is competing and you need to put yourself out there. So you can't always be that fly on the wall.
Well, Judy, when you sit as a leader at Global Compact Network in Kenya, so some of the people that you work with are quite, they're people that create opportunities really. So when you meet these people in your own meetings, do you guys talk about the shortage of the human resource in relation to soft skills? Is that something that your colleagues mention, and also colleagues, the bosses?
Yes, absolutely, and it's an area that many industry, even associations, are trying to address right now. So what we are seeing is that, yes, like I said, we are getting students out of the universities, but they are not work ready, especially in some of the sectors that require you to be, almost you come out ready to work, sort of like, jump into the deep end. And so there have been programs also designed to help bridge this gap where between universities and some of the industry, organizations, they're allowing for some of these students to come in and to shadow, and learn some of these skills as they get ready to be absorbed. So for sure, it's a gap that's been there, and I'm glad that the players in these sectors are working actively. So instead of just complaining that yes, we have people coming into the job market who cannot take up these roles readily, let's do something about it. So that has been a positive movement, at least here in Kenya.
Now, what do you tell people? I don't know if they agree with this, but you hear that people at master's and even PhD level spending years and years to get employment. You hear stories where someone spent 7 years waiting for that work. So what do you tell? Is that their problem? Are they the problem themselves?
Yeah, that's usually something that breaks my heart, and it's very unfortunate because you see some people who have a very promising, well, at first, the academic life. These are people who, when we were in school with them, you looked up to them, you admired them, and automatically you assumed they're the ones who would go farthest in life. And then you come out into the real world and you're like, oh, so-and-so is actually still looking for a job. Oh my goodness, like what could have happened? And well, the reality is the jobs are not as many as the people who are looking for them. So you also have to, think ahead. Is employment the only thing that you can do? So it calls for also job seekers to be creative. We are now talking about even creating employment. You can do that. And with the skills that you already possess, these are opportunities for you to exploit. Even if maybe you're more career orientated, you can definitely look for opportunities around creating employment for yourself. So starting a small business or, partnering up with could be another person to, put together a small business can also equally work for you. Because then, unfortunately, we have had cases of people still looking for jobs 10 years plus, So, I mean, you can't keep doing the same thing and it's not working.
Well, someone just sent me a text here and I'm going through it. It's not true. I think it makes sense. So someone is saying, all right, what the word? So ask, they're calling a different name, but anyway, ask Judy, what are they doing themselves to reach out to young people that are struggling to find work? And if she meets all these bosses, then why is she not making a difference?
Sorry, say that again. I think I missed the first part.
Someone is saying that because, well, I'm going to just try to interpret. I'm assuming that's what he's asking. So he's asking that, because you sit at the table with employers, really, as an executive director. So why don't you reach out to young people and build their soft skills by giving them opportunity as internships?
Oh, okay. No, that's a very good question, and thank you for that. And we do. even at the Global Compact Network Kenya, as I speak, we have a call for internship. And that's why I'm saying, as young people, please use the internet, use some of these platforms to access and to, try and find out where these opportunities are. So LinkedIn is a perfect, platform for any, job seeker that's out there. So don't spend all your time on Facebook and expect that you and expect that you'll stumble upon all these opportunities. So check out the Global Compact Network Kenya.org website. We post our opportunities there. Personally, I'm very active on LinkedIn. When we have opportunities within the network, I post. And I see the same thing with all the business leaders that, I have the privilege to sit with. So just again, to encourage all of us to take the initiative. I mean, your life is in your hands and your destiny, really. So it's not to say that they're not there. It's try and find where they are.
There you go. And before we end, I'm going to repeat again what you have said. For those listening to us, this is Imperial University School of Soft Skills, and I'm talking to Judy Njino, who is Executive Director at Global Compact Network Kenya. Judy is saying that actually at the moment, they're looking for interns. So those who are interested, please go to their website and try a shot. You mentioned about LinkedIn, social media. As I said, I've never met you, and we made a LinkedIn. And I've got to say that, I got inspired by the stuff that you do, and also the way you post things, and that's why I reached out to you. So internet does work, isn't it?
It does.
That you can send a DM or whatever, but nobody answers. But it does work. Here you are. I'm talking to you. So talk to me about social media. And I was talking to PLO the other day. Actually, he came to the show here, and he said that young people are taking social media not seriously. It's a place where you will go and abuse somebody or troll somebody, and some people get scared and they kind of take themselves out of the social media. What do you tell them, Judy?
Yeah, social media is a powerful tool, and it's powerful in that you can use it for good and you can use it for distraction. And so for everyone that's out there, you need to look at it as a tool that needs to work for you, not, sort of like destroy if it's your career prospects, your reputation, and all these things. So for me, I use social media in a very purposeful way. I use it to inform, I use it to network, to communicate with others, and I also use it, to just again expose myself to different things that I'm interested in. I'm interested in environmental issues, I'm interested in politics, I'm interested in culture. And so I use my connections purposely to see if I can expose myself to all those different dimensions of issues I'm interested in. So for me really is to, like I said, use it for good and use it in a way that it works for you. There's a whole wealth of resources and, different tools that you can use to also build your own internal knowledge and skills around different things. And also, again, in the world of work, something which I noted is that many people don't bother to sort of like even use it as a platform for research. So if I can give you an example, you can call people for an interview and you can see that this person obviously has access to social media and the internet and all that, but they don't even bother to do basic research of the organization that they are applying for. Yet you spend all this time and effort and resources ensuring that you have a vibrant platform that has all this information. So like I said, just be careful how you use it. Don't spend all your time sort of like joking around. It's, posting things that, yes, they are fun for the moment, but don't necessarily help you in the long run. So balance, I think is what I would say.
What is the role of the community in terms of building an individual? And again, if you allow me, I'm going to take you as an example, because I don't imagine you just born like that. Clearly, there's something that is working behind the scene. So where do you get this confidence from? Okay, I know your role, yes, but have you always been a confident person?
Not always, and I would describe myself personality-wise as an introvert. And we introverts, we are shy. We don't like to put ourselves out there. But I think it also reaches a point where you realize that for me to be effective and to be impactful in what I want to do, then I cannot allow myself limitations to stop me. So I've learned over time, to put myself out there through different means. Like I said, I'm very active in different spaces in my life, in my community at home, in church, in the workplace. I also, mentor young people from time to time. So for me, I think those are some of the avenues that I've found helpful in helping me sort of like blossom out of myself. Because for sure, if you sort of like sit back and allow your natural disposition to take place, then for sure you will never be able to get out of yourself, so to say.
I want to talk about mentorship. Don't you think mentorship is overrated?
Not at all, not at all. I think it's absolutely vital for anyone that wants to get ahead in life. Because one, we were not born self-sufficient. You, Kevin, you don't have everything in you.
Yes, that's true.
So we need each other at the end of the day. There are things you have that I don't have, and there are things I have you don't have. So we need to work together to sort of like sharpen each other. And mentorship does that for us. So it exposes you to a world of opportunities, a world of skills and different things to help you fill in some of those gaps and just broaden your mind in how you deal and how you see, the world. So it's something I would strongly encourage young people to do. Mentors out there are more than happy to support in this role. You just have to reach out at the end of the day. So just, again, be proactive.
So some people look at mentorship as an opportunity to ask opportunities. So for example, someone comes to you, like, oh, Judy, I want to mentor me, but actually what they need is, Judy, I want to give me a job. Is there a difference? Is there a difference that? And another thing, and I could be, I don't know, is that, have you experienced that kind of stuff where someone comes to you and says, Judy, listen, I like what you do, I admire what you're doing, I want to be my mentor. And then after a few days, they start asking you or sending you texts saying, "Patie kazi."
Yeah, I mean, it happens. It hasn't happened to me, but it happens only because people come into mentorship with different motives, So if you're not really serious about it and you're not aware of the benefits it can give you, then you might have that short-term outlook, like, what's in it for me, So at the end of the day, you need to also look at it as something that can have meaningful benefits beyond such short-term gains. Yes, at the end of it, you might be lucky to actually secure a job, but at the same time, is that all that you could have, gained from this particular opportunity? So just something to think about.
But how accessible are you though? People are saying again that the people that you want to reach out, for example, someone like you, they say you're very hard to find because you've got people around you to protect you, obviously, your PAs and wherever your admins. But how easy are you as a person to be assessed?
Well, I mean, as Judy, like you said, Kevin, how did you even get in touch with me? It was simply through an inbox on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's true. Yes.
And I make a purpose of, responding to every communication that I get in that platform to the level best that I can. I also run a membership organization with over 1,000 companies. So on a day-to-day, I'm on calls and different engagements. So yes, for sure, our attention is split across the different, people we serve. But personally, I think it's critical that as leaders, we are accessible and that we are available because leadership is a privilege at the end of the day. You've been bestowed certain, like I said, there are privileges around. It could be connections. It could be you have, a more wider outlook around different issues and access to opportunities. So you shouldn't sort of like limit those to yourself and your inner circle. You need to broaden some of those benefits to the wider society. And so that's why I say, for me, like a platform like LinkedIn is so critical to also share to a wider audience what I do, what opportunities exist, and just basically anything that I feel could be beneficial to my audience at the end of the day.
Well, and I hope people listening to us will take internet seriously, especially a platform like LinkedIn. Because again, people will say it's a waste of time, or it's a place where people go and boast, and it doesn't really build one's character. And here we are, you and I were talking, and as a result of me sliding to the DM and asking you to come here. But Judy, I'm very grateful, extremely grateful. Listen, I've got two last stuff. I'd like to engage you and hear your thoughts. One, I want us to go back to the community level, and that's where you find, for example, during my days, so I graduated my first degree in 2010. And I do know that during the graduation, you see lots of communities coming in with their buses, they fundraise for their sons and daughters, to go to university. But then these kids go back home and they live with them. There's no real opportunity, there are no jobs. What is the role of the universities or colleges? What they should do, in particular to kind of include soft skills in their curriculum?
Yeah, absolutely. There's such a huge opportunity for them to include this particular aspect in the curriculum, as you say. And for me, really, I think that hasn't been done sufficiently to sort of like equip those of us who are coming out of local institutions with those necessary life skills. And so the beauty of the academic sector as it is right now, they're constantly reviewing what works, what doesn't. It's also a competitive space where you need to also demonstrate that you're offering, if it's courses that are fit for purpose at the end of the day. So I feel that even those of us who are in the world of work, who have, sort of like progressed in our careers, we also need to go back and plug into some of those institutions and give back essentially, and, sort of like demonstrate what it, sort of like try and build that knowledge gap between what is theory that is taught in the classroom and what is in the world of work. And I think there are opportunities that are ongoing with, different local universities that are trying to do that. So at the end of the day, I think there's a role of community and the wider society to help reform our education system as it is, and make it fit for purpose at the end of the day.
So Judy, are you available again? You say that you mentor people. So are you available? Like anyone can actually reach out with specific mentorship part they want to grow in or to improve?
Yeah, I'm available, and of course I cannot mentor everyone. I think to make it a meaningful relationship, you also have to give of your time and your attention. But I do have access to opportunities where my friends, I have a friend who's running a book club, and recently he was, looking for young people, I think under the age of 20 or 20 and above, who could join that. And mind you, that is a platform that has CEOs, So you can imagine if you, as a young person, you have access to such a platform where it's an open call, whoever is interested, please join in. That tells you that you have already, platform again to get mentored and to be coached with people who are seasoned and who've gone before you. So like I said, I'm usually excited to post all these opportunities as I receive them. I don't keep them to myself.
I mean, goodness me. So opportunities are there. It's a matter of where people are looking at, isn't it? And how?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're telling me now about this book club thing. And as you say, members there are people with powers, people that can actually change lives. So why, it's very frustrating. So why are people not taking advantage of this? Or is it lack of knowledge?
it's lack of knowledge, and I think that's why this conversation is so important, Kevin, because it helps them think and helps them see where these opportunities actually lie. So if we don't talk about it, then nobody will ever know. So it's up to us to keep, putting this message out there and to really guide, these young people on the different opportunities that are available. So I think, yeah, this is a good place to start in terms of this conversation we're having.
How many CVs do you receive a day, Judy, in your office?
Well, several. We have an info address, and it ranges from anything and everything. Someone who's looking for a driving job, who's looking for an internship. Yes. And so what we do is we direct them to the website, which is, the place where we post all these opportunities. So again, company websites, organizational websites are very, critical in helping you see where the opportunities are and at any given time. So you might also want to invest in some of these, career job portals where you can receive, notifications of an opportunity that's relevant to you. So again, proactivity, you have to be proactive.
Yes, and you cannot put it any better, Judy. Some people like that traditional way of, I come from school, I write my CV, I start distributing them around. So you end up spending 2-3 years just going to various offices, and you don't get really positive results. So perhaps, yes, it's good to write a CV, or it's good to send a CV, but also get involved in this kind of platform, isn't it? I mean, they're free. You don't know who we're going to meet there. Last thing from you, Judy. I mean, I can sit there just listen to you the whole day, and this you're telling me now again. Why are we not sharing? Why don't you know about them? And I ask this again, but it's just, I think it's very important, for listeners to understand what you're talking about. It's not just about the word of mouth, but clearly, from what you're saying, it does work.
Yes. Networking works. That one I can tell you. I can tell you for free. And even for those of us who are in, our careers, and everybody might think we've arrived. Networking opens up even more opportunities to help you advance your own mission. And so even for a job seeker, more than people who are settled in their careers, this I think has, the most benefits that you can accrue if you're again strategic and deliberate about it. So like I keep saying, I think with the opportunities, even right now with COVID, it's really up to us to see how we can exploit the different engagements that are available online to put ourselves out there, going forward.
But someone is saying that she looks very young. How did she get there? Did she know somebody?
I look young, but I don't know if I'm young really, but...
Well, you are, serious, no. I mean, at least I can see that inspire people, because people always assume that these organizations are being run by someone else, but it's people like you, really.
Yeah, people like me.
Because actually, it's true. Listen, there's some people, for example, you take any company you feel like, and people assume that there's a stereotype way of who is the boss there. But actually, they're just ordinary people, like, Judy. You see what I mean? It's just incredible.
Yeah, it's true. Wow. It's true, Kevin. Yeah. And for me, people, I get that all the time. And people assume you walk into a room and they look at you and they imagine it must be somebody else or everybody else but her. And then they see you take the stage and they see you deliver a presentation and people are left shocked. But for me, like I said earlier on in my career, I made very purposeful steps to put myself out there around different opportunities. I volunteered a lot even before I got my...
So were you guided? So did someone tell you actually how to do this? Like, because I know that lots of people, again, may not have the necessarily, may not be guided or don't have somebody to kind of lead them. So in your particular career life, I'm saying, so did someone guide you on what to do and how?
So that's a good question. For me, to be honest, I just remember my parents telling me, "Huwezi kaa nyumbani, unakaa nyumbani, you're staying home to do what? Find something to do." So I guess for me, that was my guidance, that, hey, you need to up, you cannot be, watching TV the whole day. A month comes, another one goes, you're just there in the house doing nothing. So it's like, anyway, it's also a very boring life. What can I do to just get out there? For me, that was the motivation, to be honest. So I can't say I had somebody specifically sort of like hand holding me through the process, but it was, yeah, just also that feeling that I needed to be out there. What's different? I'm from university. I don't know when I'll actually get my first substantive job. So what can I do in the meantime? And that's what I did. And I tell you, that's what actually got me into my very first job. It was through volunteering. Volunteering
Wow.
that ended up into an internship, and an internship that ended up being, absorbed into an organization. And I worked there for a good 5 years before I transitioned. And then, yeah, so
internship
don't despise humble beginnings. Many young people also shun what they call like volunteer opportunities.
Yes.
You want to get into the world of work and you want to be paid upfront. Sometimes organizations don't have the ability to pay you, but they have something in exchange which potentially could be more valuable. But at the same time, we do encourage organizations that are able to pay for those internship stipends to do that. I think it's the ethical thing to do at the end of the day. But don't turn down opportunities, especially at that early stage, to get skills, hands-on skills and knowledge, which again can work in your favor in the long term.
And this is soft skills does to one, isn't it? If you have something to bring on the table, because as you say, one job you get thousands of people applying for it, so you need to stand out. And one of the ways to stand out is through soft skills. These are things that people don't know. Last thing from me, Judy, and I always ask my guests whenever they're here. Now, since I know which table you're sitting at, I want you to bring me another CEO of any company that to come to the show.
There are many. I think I'll be spoiled for choice.
But listen, what are you thinking, man? So, I'm looking. I won't mention names. I will leave that to you. But I would really appreciate if you can commit. Everyone is listening to you now. to introduce me to at least one boss, one CEO, because these are the people that make decisions, and it's good sometimes. For job seekers to understand, actually, it's not that bad. It's not that serious. Listen, I'm talking to you. You're the director of a international platform, really. But here we are having a chat. So you guys, you are people. You see wanyama. You are people, and you laugh. You've got stories behind you, and that's the purpose of this platform, really, to share, to bring people like you and share this kind of knowledge. So, are you committing to at least one person?
I commit. I raise my hand. I commit. Yes.
Well, listen, I'll write to you until be somebody here. Well, I cannot thank you enough, Judy, really. I'm extremely honored to have you. Extremely inspiring. And yes, I will come to you to mentor me as well, because there are some things that you've mentioned I had no idea about. And I can see they're very important. So last thing from you, Judy, again, what do you tell people that are sitting at home and after kazi too?
Anatafuta kazi. Just get out there. Get out there. The world needs people like you. You have something to offer, and that's the starting point. Don't think because you don't have a job yet that you, for lack of a better word, that you're useless. Trust me, you have so much to offer. So try and see those different opportunities that exist within your little community, your neighborhood. Like I said, the church for me is a perfect place to do that. Even in schools, there are those opportunities that you can volunteer for. So that's, I think, my one and only advice. Just get yourself out there. That's the starting point, and then the rest will follow.
Wow, thanks, Judy. Again, for those that have joined us, this is Mtandao Varsity School of Soft Skills. And today I was talking to Judy Njino, Executive Director at Global Compact Network, Kenya. Judy, I cannot thank you enough. Again, I've got to tell people that, I didn't pay you to come here. It was out of your own will, and you shared knowledge that can be very, very expensive. So I thank you so much. And it's really, really nice meeting you, Judy. Thank you very much for your time. Best of luck.
Thank you so much, Kevin, and my pleasure being on this platform with you today.
God bless you. Thank you very much, and have a nice evening.
And you too, take care.